There you go, Marco. Over to you.
Thank you, Donna. So it's Marco Ramuno, the General Manager of Development Services for the town of East Gwillimbury. So welcome everybody this morning. It's our first kickoff workshop for the OP review. We've got another session, similar session this afternoon at 1. So in the interest of time, because I know our consultants, Donna and Ron, have a lot to go through, a presentation. I just wanted to thank everybody. We've got a great turnout. Mayor Virginia Haxon wanted to attend this morning, but I received a note. Something must have come up, so she won't be with us this morning, but she may be there. She may be with us this afternoon. And I know our CAO is going to join us as well, and some of our general managers and perhaps some of our other councillors who is scheduled for one of the sessions. I don't see anybody on as a participant yet, but I'll turn it over now to Donna and Ron to kick off this exciting workshop, and looking forward to input from everybody. Thanks very much, Donna.
Thanks, Marco. Yes, welcome everybody. We are really looking forward to this morning's session. First off, I want to thank everybody for tolerating having to use this platform. We all look forward to a time when we can meet face to face. As I mentioned in the beginning, we are recording both sessions. They will be posted to the project webpage. You are welcome to share your thoughts also in the chat box, and whatever's recorded in the chat box will also become part of the record of the meeting. So we're going to be going through a presentation. Ron is going to be walking you through some slides, and then we're going to open it up to a conversation. The focus of the session this morning is on a vision and principles for the work that we're going to be doing over the next several months. When it comes to the conversation part of the meeting, I'm going to go through my list of participants and ask you to turn on your mics and camera if you wish to share your thoughts about providing input to the vision and principles. And I'll do that by going in alphabetical order by first name, the way it is on my list of participants. I would ask just now before we get started if anybody is calling in by phone, because then you don't show up on my list of participants. So if anybody could just do a shout out if you're calling in by phone. And not hearing anything. So,
hello, my name is Adam Layton, Evans Planning.
Okay, and you're calling in by phone? You are.
Viewing online, but calling in by phone.
Okay, perfect, Adam. So I will call you up when I go through my list of participants. While we're making...
we also have Monica Oviedo from Biglieri Group on the phone.
Okay, and you're on... Okay, Monica. Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank
Monica. You. Anybody else?
And Joe Persicini.
Joe, okay. Anybody else? Okay. While we're going through the presentation, if everybody could mute your phone or turn off your mic on the platform, that would be terrific. And then we'll, like I said, go through each of you when we start the conversation. So with that, thank you very much. Sorry, I should have done this in the beginning. My name's Donna Hind. I'm a partner at the Planning Partnership, and I'm helping the team with everything related to communications, consultation, and engagement. And on the meeting is my partner, Ron Palmer, who I'll let you introduce yourself, Ron.
I'm Ron Palmer. I'm also a principal at the Planning Partnership, and I'm the project manager for our team, which includes, and I'll get into that in a minute, quite a significant group of other professionals. So the format for today is I'm going to go through the first 7 items in a fairly rapid fashion. This presentation will be available online if you want to read it in more detail. And then at the end, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she's going to go through an activity where we talk about individual topics and give everyone a chance to add to the conversation, to tell us what you think we need to know as we embark on this project. And that's a really important point. We are right at the beginning of this project. So I don't have any content of the new official plan ready yet. That's coming over time, but we have lots of work to do to get to that point as we work through the process. The next slide. So for those of you who don't know, an official plan is an overarching document that is intended to establish the vision and the guiding principles that will guide future development of East Gwillimbury over time. It's not the only planning document that comes into play. Certainly an official plan is part of a bigger process. Of course, we have provincial documents, we have the regional official plan, and then locally, the official plan is implemented in part by the zoning bylaw and potentially even the site plan approval process. So what we're looking to do is establish a framework for the growth of East Gwillimbury to the year 2051. Next. This is the official plan map today. Obviously, we have the Holland Landing, the Green Lane area, Queensville, and Sharon all clustered together as one part of the urban complex. And then we have Mount Albert over on the east side, separated by some fairly important pieces of provincial planning legislation, both the Greenbelt Plan and the Oak Ridges Moraine. We don't expect that there'll be substantial change in the Greenbelt and Oak Ridges Moraine elements of the community. Further, Mount Albert, why we will be establishing some policy adjustments. Certainly it has been planned out and expected to grow to its boundaries by 2031. Certainly also the Highway 89 connection from the 400 to the 404 is back into the conversation. Recently announced that they'll be picking up the approval work through that in the short term. So that's something that we will be considering as well. Next slide. As many of you will know, the last official plan was originally adopted back in 2010. And as I mentioned, the planning horizon at that time was 2031. The Planning Act in Ontario requires the municipality to review their official plan at least every 10 years, which would be right about now. And we also are working through this process, including a land needs assessment, which is the beginning work. And we were retained by the town to carry out all of this work back in July of this year. Next slide.
Just 1 second, sorry. There we go.
As I mentioned, our team, which is being led by the Planning Partnership, does include a whole host of other professionals. We have a sub-consultant team, and we also have an advisory team on very specific topics. And I'm going to run through it a little bit just so you're aware that it's not just Donna and I. Leading the land needs assessment work is Mark Conway from Enbury Lions. He's lots of experience and does a terrific job on that type of work. And I'm also assisted by Nick McDonald of Meridian Planning Consultants, who's helping me with all things planning. We have Urban Metrics on our team, who will be helping NBLC and doing the retail commercial assessment of the growth management land needs assessment exercise. And on my advisory team, I have Colville, who are primarily focused on any agricultural elements of the plan. I have Palmer Environmental, who are looking at the natural heritage system. I have SCS Consulting, who are providing advice on the civil engineering components of the study, and I have the BA group who are helping me with transportation elements. So it's a big team, very experienced team. We've all worked together in the past, and we're looking forward to working together on this fairly significant project on behalf of the town. In terms of the work program, we have begun. The land needs assessment is expected to be completed by December of this year. And that is a significant piece of work that involves the region of York as well as the municipality. The official plan work has begun, and it has a number of phases, 4 to be exact, and we expect to be finished, to be wrapping up all of this work, getting ready to go to council by about this time next year. I know that seems like a long time, but for a project of this scope, it is relatively quick. And it is in the context of all of the work that is done by the province and the region. Next slide. The consultation program will be carried out throughout the various phases of the project. This is the first opportunity for the public to provide input, but there'll be other timelines and opportunities for the public and other stakeholders to provide commentary. Each phase has a number of touch points with council and with the public to review our work in progress. Next slide. Certainly, the town of East Gwillimbury is not alone in the planning world. We'll start with the province. We are required to implement a whole host of legislation that the province relies upon, not the least of which is the Planning Act, which provides the legislative authority for the municipality to do an official plan and tells us what needs to be in it. We are also required to conform to the growth plan. Those of you who know the process, that growth plan was originally passed in 2006 and has been amended a number of times since that original document, the latest of which was earlier this year. That's really important because what happened earlier this year is that the province now wants us to think about planning to the year 2051 and to accommodate growth projections to that time frame. We are also required to be consistent with the provincial policy statement, and once again, that document has been amended recently this year. What all of this means, all of this legislative authority, means that the official plan that you have today is not up to date with all the provincial requirements as we go forward. So that's a significant part of the work, is to make sure that we're appropriately dealing with all of the provincial legislation and policies. Next slide. The region is also involved. The region, their official plan, like your official plan, was originally approved back in 2010. They did produce an office consolidation, which adds all the various amendments that have happened since 2010, and they did that in 2019. The region is currently carrying out a very significant piece of work called their Municipal Comprehensive Review. And the purpose of that document, as it affects East Gwillimbury, is to take the growth projections from the growth plan, which are assigned on a regional basis, and allocate it to the various constituent municipalities within York Region, including the town of East Gwillimbury. There are other elements of the Municipal Comprehensive Review that are being considered, things like a greenfield density target, intensification targets, and the potential for any settlement area expansions. All of these things will be discussed and worked through with the region as part of the land needs assessment that we are doing with NBLC at the beginning of this work program. Next slide. The municipality does have a strategic plan, and that is a foundational document that will provide us with some initial guidance. And in fact, we've used that to help us craft some of the topics that we're going to be talking about later today. The official plan is also being developed concurrently, of course, with the land needs assessment that I've talked a little bit about. But at the same time, the municipality will be updating their transportation master plan, the service infrastructure master plan, and the development charges bylaw update. So once we're finished, we're going to have a full package of tools and documents that all support one another and are appropriately linked in terms of how East Gwillimbury is expected to grow to the year 2051. Next. As I mentioned, some of the key elements of the strategic plan that have helped us begin our work are related to a community vision that talks about balance and meeting the needs of the population. There are strategic priorities that have been identified in terms of growth management and environmental protection, the provision of programs and services that serve the community, building a complete community, and that means having places to live, places to work, places to shop, places to have fun. And of course, the overarching element is making sure that there's a culture of municipal excellence. We've been retained to create the best official plan that we will have ever created on behalf of the town of East Gwillimbury. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she's going to explain what she would like to do today and talk about the various topics.
Great. Thanks, Ron. So the purpose of the session, the two sessions today, are to get some input on the ideas or phrases that could contribute to the development of a vision and guiding principles. The vision and guiding principles, as most of the people on the call know, are the foundation of the new official plan, and they're going to influence the policies that will be written. So we've organized the conversation, or to get the input, according to the topics that are on the screen. So growth management, environment, sustainability, healthy communities, infrastructure, main streets, housing, and employment and institutional uses. We've had a few conversations leading up to this one, and these are some of the things that we've heard with respect to those topics. So with respect to growth management, we've heard about the need for responsible growth. We've heard about the need for well-designed communities. We've heard an interest in building out the White Belt, linking growth with infrastructure. With respect to the environment, sustainability, healthy communities, we've heard about an interest to leading the edge with respect to sustainability, to responding to climate change, expanding trails, and exploring green building design. With respect to infrastructure, we've heard clearly that infrastructure is key to future growth and phasing, that there's a need for long-term servicing investment, and an interest in promoting green infrastructure. With respect to the main streets of the villages, we've heard about an idea to enable the appropriate evolution and success of those main streets. We've heard about an interest to make sure we're focusing on the unique characteristics and attributes of each one of those centers. And that specifically with respect to Holland Landing, that the main street needs to be improved. With respect to housing, that it will become more diverse, that there's a need for wider housing options, more rental and affordable housing, and more medium and higher density housing. with respect to employment in institutional uses, the importance of the Highway 400-404 link, the need to define this town within the GTHA economy, an interest in a greater understanding of what the economic generators will be, and then an interest to attract large-scale institutional uses. So for the next little while, we wanted to have a conversation with everybody who's on the call to get your thoughts with respect to ideas or phrases that should be captured in either an overarching vision statement or guiding principles with respect to each one of the 6 topics that are on the screen. As I mentioned, the way I do this is I go down the list. It's in alphabetical order as my list of participants, and then I'll also get to call out the people that are calling in by phone and may not be on my list. If you don't want to share any thoughts, then you won't turn your mic or your camera on. So I'll give you a few minutes. So I'm going to call people up in groups of 3. We'll be, like I mentioned, we're recording the conversation, but we're also taking supplementary notes of what we're hearing, and then we'll report out a little bit on what we heard at the end of the conversation. So on my first list of 3, I have Adam Layton. I'm going to skip over the people from the town. We've got lots of interest and participation with town staff this morning. So I've got Adam Layton, Andrew Pick, and I believe it's Monica from Biglieri's office. So Adam, Andrew, or Monica, do you want to turn your mic on and share any thoughts?
This is Adam.
Okay.
I think if we're going to be talking about housing,
Yeah.
I think definitely some reference to alternative housing forms or innovative housing forms would be beneficial.
Okay, and what does that mean to you, innovative housing forms or alternative housing forms?
Architects are always coming up with innovative and creative solutions to create new housing types.
Okay.
Sometimes things that we hadn't thought of or heard of before, and it would be a shame to get hampered by policy for a new housing type, which may be otherwise widely acceptable or appropriate for a given context.
Okay, so are you referring to that like a townhouse or stacked townhouse or medium density or high density? That's what you mean with respect to housing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the types of residential buildings. Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. Okay.
This is Monica from Biglieri, just testing that the mic works.
Yeah, it's all good. You're good.
Okay, great. Yeah, definitely kind of building off the previous comment for housing to have policies that allow for a range and a mix of housing types.
Okay. And do you want to expand on that a little bit? Do you imagine that's mixed in each neighborhood, or is it concentrated in certain areas?
I think you can kind of concentrate a wider range in certain kind of, if there's intensification areas for sure, but I think allowing for more flexibility in even the kind of rural, or not rural, sorry, the more suburban areas.
Okay.
Gives people more housing options.
Okay. So you're saying, right, to allow greater diversity in both the areas that are slated for intensification as well as in the general residential neighborhood. So there's more choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for that, Monica. Okay. So the next ones on my list, I have Brad and Dan Stone and Doug Skeffington. Yep. Brad, go ahead.
Hi, it's Brad Rogers. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, everything's good. Yep, you're good.
So when I look at the town of East Gwillimbury, there's a number of areas that I think require some some build out. And my understanding is that within the whole town of East Gwillimbury, there isn't one underground parking facility or medium or high density development. And when I look at Queensville, for example, there obviously needs to be a build out of Queensville. And when you talk about a variety of densities, if there are some locations such as Green Lane where the train station is, a relaxation of some of the parking requirements might assist with the feasibility of some of those medium or high density projects. And when I look at Mount Albert, in order to, I think, finish the community and build out the community, there's a constraint there with respect to the treatment facility. And so I think that needs to be a focus for Mount Albert. And I guess, with all of the white belt lands in East Gwillimbury, servicing becomes a major initiative that needs to be addressed right off the bat.
Okay. Thank you for that, Brad. So I'm hearing in my notes that we have to have a closer look at the requirements for parking to assist with the development of higher density development. And you're talking specifically about some of the centers, Queensville and Mount Albert in particular, and servicing with respect to any of the white belt lands.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. So maybe I'll get you to turn your mic off, Brad. For the meantime, we might loop back to people on the call. And Dan Stone, you're not turning your mic on. I'm shocked, Dan Stone. There you are. Okay. There you are. And maybe, Doug, can I get you to turn your mic off? We're getting a little bit of background. So Dan, there you go. Your mic's on. Anything you want to share?
First of all, can you hear me?
Yep, good. You're good, Dan.
I think just jumping off on Adam's comments about housing, I think alternative forms of housing and more for housing procedures, those types of things I think would be helpful in terms of housing.
Okay, alternative forms of housing. That's what I'm hearing.
Specifically, the notion of the coach houses, the secondary houses.
Okay, so different.
Not just apartments, but secondary suite, accessory buildings.
Okay. I'm just going to get, can you just come a little bit closer to your mic, Dan? There's a little bit of interference. So I think what you're saying is the point is about alternative forms of housing, but for you, it's more coach houses, secondary suites, smaller scale alternative forms, correct? Okay. Maybe I'll just get you to turn your mic off. And maybe, Ron, do you want to speak to Bill 108 and what we're exploring and with some...
Well, we don't call it Bill 108 anymore.
Or whatever it is. Sorry. I'm not the planner. I'm not the planner on the team.
As most of you will know, there is a requirement from the province to facilitate what they're now calling additional dwelling units. And that is fundamentally the opportunity and the ability to not only build an accessory apartment within an existing dwelling, but also to permit an additional dwelling unit in an accessory building on the same lot. So the potential for single detached house, potentially townhouses, and so on, to have up to 3 separate.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going to pause for a minute. So Tom H on my list of participants, your mic is on. So if you can turn your, there we go. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
I was done.
Oh, okay. Okay. And
But yes, the answer to Dan's statement is yes.
okay. Okay. And Adam, wait, your phone, maybe you could mute your phone because I think we might be getting some background on your call. Oh, nope, still there.
I've been on mute the whole time.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, so it's not you. Okay. These are some of the glitches of the online platforms. Okay, Doug, you're up next. If you can turn your mic on. There we go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invite. Look forward to participating. I guess the one big thing for me is the embracing of technology and creating the opportunity to utilize technology in a lot of the sustainable growth directions the municipality is going to be considering. Over the last number of years, we have been promoting and trying to develop a concept, and one of the difficulties we've had was dealing with change sort of at the grassroots level with staff, and understanding how technology can create opportunities for a lot of the things that you're talking about with different forms of housing and all that stuff. So creating I guess an opportunity to embrace technology with developing the sustainable policies that you guys are going to be looking at.
Okay.
And I guess to react to the different housing types, because it's a bit of a long-term visioning exercise that we're partaking, I think it's paramount that we have opportunities to have the town be able to react to market conditions.
Okay.
We can identify things that we think are going to be viable alternatives today, but this plan is going to be affecting growth for quite some time. So I think being nimble and giving council the opportunity to react without significant impediments to that, I think would be important.
Okay. So give everyone on the call, when you say embrace technology directions for sustainable growth. So give an example with that.
So if you're familiar with some of the work that we've done, if you've gone up to even go up to City Hall now, and outside their parking lot, there is a type of solar technology that basically powers up the parking lot. So utilizing solar in a different way, utilizing just energy in general in a different way, looking at different options on how we deal with water and wastewater and the like.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Great.
Hello there.
Okay.
Joe.
Yep. So 1 second, Joe. I'm just going to go work down my list, and then you're coming up
Okay.
soon. So
Props.
next on my list is Edward, and is it Heath and James Kennedy. So Edward, Heath, and James. I'll give you a minute, and if I don't see you turning on your mics, I will assume you are here to listen. Okay, I'm going to go to Jennifer and then Joe. So Joe, you're almost up. Jennifer Lee. Oh, okay. Joe, you're up.
Thank you.
There you go.
This may be off the wall, but I'm that kind of guy that I'm always thinking, different from anyone else as a business person. When you look at the landscape and the buildings and the houses in Arizona, they have, and also in Florida, certain areas, they have a theme of the buildings and the houses in a certain particular way. So when you drive in, this is wow. It's really nice to see the concept. It's pretty well all kind of the same kind of concept, but the colors and the landscape it's nice to drive through there, like on Fifth Avenue in Naples, Florida, or Arizona, and Scottsdale. You see all this concept, so of a style of to create a style that suits our areas that people want to drive into or want to be part of the business because it's so exciting and everything looks great. I don't know, maybe it's just off the wall. I just thought I'd give 2 cents worth. That the themes is it makes you inviting for you to go in there. I don't know if you've ever been to some of these places in Arizona, Scottsdale, or the buildings and the houses are almost that looks different. They're different, but the concept of the colors and schemes, it's inviting to go through there and just drive through.
Okay. That's a great point. Ron, do you want to weigh in on that from any perspective?
Thank you.
Okay. So create a style or a theme or a color or something that's obvious and makes the development or the neighborhood really stand out and be distinguished from others. Okay.
Just thinking of, sorry, before I go, thinking of like the main street of Leslie Street from Green Lane to Mount Albert, and also the Young Street to and Hall Landing, to create something, and so it's inviting to go there.
Okay. That's great. And I think everybody can think of those villages and centers that you've traveled to that are really quite memorable because of that. Okay, thanks, Joe. So next on my list is John and Kaylee Robbins and Keith McKinnon. So John, Kaylee, and Keith McKinnon. If I'll just keep an eye out for your mics. There you go, Keith. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks.
And then I'll come back. Then I'll come back to you, John. I'm going to talk to Keith. We'll talk to Keith first, and then come back to John. Keith, go ahead.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate being a part of the process. So I guess just from my perspective, from what we've heard earlier about providing some additional range of housing types. So as one of the consultants that works for the DG Group for their lands in Queensville, along with the lane, I guess that both those communities are providing a range of housing types. Some of them may not be built today, but they are proposed to be built in the future. And the secondary plan work that has been undertaken, for many years for both those areas. So I guess my sort of comment is just a lot of work was undertaken on both those secondary plans, and I want to make sure that there's a lot of background noise here.
Yeah, let me just pause for just 1 second. I think it's maybe people that have called in on their phone. So I know it's not you, Adam. Monica, I don't think it's you. Joe, could you make sure your phone's on mute?
It looks like Tony Bigley.
Okay, turned off. Okay. Yeah, and that's Monica from Tony's office. Okay, that's a bit better now. Something's happened. Okay, all right, Keith, keep going.
Yeah, so I was just saying that, I think it's important that all the work that was undertaken for those secondary plan areas, that you just don't sort of throw them out and start fresh, because a lot of time, effort, and a significant amount of money obviously was invested to prepare those secondary plan areas.
Yeah.
So I really think that you should, obviously take what has already been undertaken for those areas and mold them into what you're doing with the secondary plan now, because obviously plans have been prepared. Those areas have been designed based on that work that's been undertaken. So to think, you make substantial changes to that work as you go on, it's going to certainly make that community look a lot different, which may come with unintended consequences. Okay. And I think the other thing to consider too is, Queensville, or I should say East Gwillimbury as a whole, certainly is a community that has been growing over the last number of years. And, there is some resistance to change by folks that have lived in Queensville for many years. So I think if you're starting to think about higher density and stuff like that, you want to be obviously very strategic as to where you might take that, or where you might propose it. And again, I think those secondary plans that have been undertaken and are approved may be a guiding document for you to look at, where you may want to just keep those areas for the residents that live within the area that are familiar. That's what the housing type and form is going to be in those areas, so they're not left with some substantial change that could potentially happen later on. So those are my comments, but happy to see the documents when they come out, and we'll certainly be providing comments related to it.
Ron, did you want to follow up on any of that, the role of the existing secondary plans?
Well, sure. It's a topic that we will need to have a conversation with staff. Secondary plans are part of the official plan, and we have made no determination about making any significant changes, although if there's an opportunity to do that, there may be ways to make them better without relitigating the entire approval process that has gone on for many, many years since the original approval of Queensville and of course Green Lane. So it's a conversation we're going to have, and how they are dealt with in the new official plan will certainly be a significant topic.
Okay. Thanks for that, Keith. I'll go back to John. You had your mic on. Yep. Go ahead, John.
Good morning. I have no major comments to make on the overall plan because we basically haven't seen much at the moment.
Yep.
I just have two items I would like to cover, though. We've just recently gone through a environmental planning zoning issue, shall we say, and that supposedly has been put to bed. However, included in that bylaw is the fact that we must respect any of the superior government's rulings. So say in the case of River Drive Park or anywhere for that matter, if they decide, as the Conservation Authority did back in July 2018, they advised the town to allow the residents the first 60 meters of their property and environmentally plan all the rest of it. Not for a scientific reason, just to make sure that the residents could not use the land for anything, which of course had intended or unintended consequences of reducing the value of the property, making sure people couldn't build a garage or a shop or anything else on it. So I think we want to be very careful on any planning that we steer away from the restrictions on privately owned property. That's probably the biggest single thing. The other mention will be the 404 to 400 bypass. Looking at the planned drawings, the connection between the two is a straight line. However, as soon as it gets to the populated area, which is River Drive Park, it actually drops farther south, getting closer to the park, across, and then goes back up. Doing just a very, very quick measurement, and I'll admit it's an approximation, it places the bypass for approximately 400 yards north of the northernmost part of Oak Street in Holland Landing, or sorry, in River Drive Park. This is going to completely destroy this entire area as far as air quality, noise, just the whole environment of this area, which is a very quiet, peaceful area, is going to be substantially changed. I would ask that as part of this official plan, every attempt be made to get the province to move the road farther north. This is not NIMBYism, it's just common sense. Why bother impacting a whole pile of people when if you moved it a half a mile north, you would basically alleviate that particular issue. For the moment, that's basically all I have to say.
Okay, John, let me get Ron just to do a quick response on the implication of environmental features on private property. Again,
Certainly.
an issue that we deal with on other projects.
I kind of took that to say that there shouldn't be any rules on private lands, which is the entire purpose of an official plan, which is to provide regulatory regime on all lands, including privately held lands. So we are going to be doing that. With respect to the environmental elements, There has been a tremendous amount of work over the years done in East Gwillimbury on the natural heritage system. And it is our responsibility to protect those lands from the impacts of development. It is the municipality's responsibility to do that. And we do have to conform with and be consistent with provincial and regional policies. So in that regard, we are somewhat limited in what we can and cannot do in terms of the natural heritage system. With respect to the 404-400 connection, that has its own environmental assessment process. The municipality can be involved in that process, but their ability to require the province change the route is, again, limited. My understanding is that the environmental assessment process is being picked up again, and there will be opportunities to provide input as the province works toward the specific alignment of that route. So that is an opportunity that the municipality may take, and will depend on what the province would like to do with that information.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Yeah, John?
Yeah, and a comment, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
One of the comments that Ron mentioned was the fact that they were protecting private property, and yet private property in many cases does not need the protection. It's our property. We should be able to do with it as we wish within reasonable limits. But the thing that concerned me the most about the last go around with this environmental planning was that the York Region Conservation Authority recommended seizing a great portion of the property, or restricting, shall we say, a great portion of the property for no benefit. There was no scientific reason. It wasn't the home of the yellow-bellied sapsucker. The land elevation did not vary much from one end to the other, from the front to the back. It was very simply, let us restrict this property for future use. And if I can draw a parallel, Friday Harbor in Barrie, this started happening 15, 20 years ago. They environmentally planned the properties. The value of the properties dropped drastically. Developers came in, bought up all the property, and then turned around and presented this wonderful plan to redevelop the property. That basically, it was nothing short of stealing property from people who basically had no choice at this point but to sell it for a reduced price.
Okay, John, let me, Ron, do you want to follow up on the Conservation Authority, the role of the Conservation Authority, or?
Conservation Authority is not an approval authority. They're a commenting agency, and I agree that science is important.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens when we talk about the science.
Okay. All right, John, I'm going to just move on, and then we can come back if we have time at the end of the session. So maybe I'll just get you to yep, there you go. Okay, so the next one's on my list. I think it's Kerrigan Kelly and Mr. Greenbaum, and then Lucia, I think. So I'll just wait for a minute to see if you turn your mics on, and then I'll go to the next clump. Oh, yep, go ahead. Yep, there
is that me?
Yep, there you go. Yep, thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. We are one of the landowners and developers that's active in Sharon and Southwest Queensville, and I guess a point I just want some clarification on is that we know the region are going through their MCR and land needs assessment process.
Yeah.
And we understand as well that the town earlier this year passed a resolution advising the region that it wanted to ensure that its white belt lands, the area between between Queensville and Sharon, be included in the region's priorities for urban settlement. So I just wanted to be sure that as a basis for your work, that this would become a given in terms of input to the work program for your growth management part of this exercise.
Okay, Ron?
Yes, it is. At this point, we are exploring opportunities to develop all of the white belt lands in East Gwillimbury. At the end of the day, we will be working, that will be an input to the region, and the region will make a determination as to whether all of the white belt is necessary in the 2051 horizon. And of course, what's really important is that any kind of discussion about growth in East Gwillimbury has to be inextricably tied to commitments to build infrastructure. So the short answer to your question is yes.
Okay, I just want to add that that the town will be making, or the consulting team will be making, the appropriate arguments as to why these lands should be included, and not necessarily leaving it up to the region to come up with the arguments in that regard.
We're going to be doing our best to provide a rationale to the region, but at the end of the day, the region is the approval authority.
Understood. Thank you very much. Okay. And we invite you to reach out to the landowner groups for whatever input we can provide in terms of both the planning and the infrastructure, which obviously, as you say, is a pretty critical piece.
Okay, that's terrific. Good to know. Thank you very much. So next I have Lucia and Noor. Waiting to see mics go on. And Mark Greenbaum, is that a different office or the same group as the Mr. Greenbaum who just spoke? Is it the same group, Mark?
Yeah, it's the same group. I echo Lou's comments, and I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Okay. Then I'm going to keep going down my list. I have Paul, Mintz, and Rob. Okay, and then Ryan. I just have Jay, Ryan J. Sarah, come on, Sarah. I know you have something to say.
Good morning.
There you are. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Anything?
I'm just here listening as part of our team. So.
Okay. Nothing to share. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Tom H. There you
hello.
go. Hi, Tom.
From a landowner's perspective, we do have something to bring up, but in the interest of sensitivity, we wish to bring it up in a private conversation.
Okay.
We'll be reaching out to you in a separate call.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Then I have Tom Kilpatrick, Tom Kurtz, Vince. There you go, Tom. Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with everything that's been said so far. Interesting observations. We have a parcel of land in Mount Albert that got caught in the process. The process was such that the town identified what the community plan should look like. They had discussions with the region. The region planned on that population. And during implementation, first of all, they expanded the sewage treatment plant to accommodate that population.
Yep.
But during implementation, the province came out with changes in density that they would like to achieve. And as a result, there were significant parts of Mount Albert that were left unserviced. So my point is that as we move forward with implementation of these plans, that the affected landowners be part of the discussion and are be aware of the implications of these changes.
Okay, fair enough. And that's certainly what we're trying to do through this process. As Ron showed the earlier slide, where there's going to be many touch points where we're coming back to the entire community to share the team's work in progress. So we'll make sure that we're keeping everybody posted. Okay, thanks for that. And then the last two on my list, I have Vince Palermo and Warren. And not seeing any mics coming on. So I'm going to open it up to the whole group that's on the call, the meeting this morning. Does anybody have anything else you want to share? Okay. Ron, do you want to give a bit of a summary of what you've heard on the call this morning? Just some of the key themes, the key points.
No, I have some notes, and I think it was a reasonable and got some good input, but I'm not going to go through it all.
Okay. I'll just share some of the things that I have on my notes, just as commonly heard themes of some of the conversation. I heard lots of conversation about housing, about alternative forms of housing, from higher density, medium density, then right down to additional housing on individual lots. I heard about relaxing some of the policies that might be inhibiting development of higher density right now. I heard about the need to, or an interest in embracing technology in the directions, especially with respect to sustainable growth. I heard about the need to make sure that or try and plan a framework that allows council to be nimble to react to changing market conditions. I heard an interest in creating a really interesting style, theme, color of development so that it really becomes imageable and kind of a destination, especially on some of the main streets. I heard about an interest to recognize the work that's been done in the secondary plans that are already approved. Had a conversation about the impact, especially of natural features that have been identified on private property and what the implications of that are on development. Ron mentioned the process that's underway with respect to the bypass and opportunities to influence the final route and alignment of that. Heard interest in recognizing the potential of the White Belt lands and sending that message clearly to the region. One of the residents on the call is going to follow up with some input in a different form, either through email or telephone call. And that finally, people said, please make sure that we're posted throughout the process of progress on the work that we were doing. And so I'm going to go back to that slide just for a minute so everybody remembers when we're going to be reaching out again. So one of the next opportunities for engagement, we're going to be doing an online survey where we put out the draft vision and guiding principles that are in part being influenced, or in part being shaped by the input that we're receiving from these two meetings today. Then we're going to have a meeting to council with council to present the findings of the discussion papers. We're going to have another workshop next April. We don't know what the tools that we have to use next April. It could very well be an online meeting again, but hopefully we can meet face to face, a council presentation, and then statutory open houses and public meetings into the fall next year. Let me just go back to how to keep in touch. We have set up a project specific web page. You can easily find it. You can just Google official plan and it takes you right to this link. And then Adam, Rob, who's on the call, he's the senior planner that's managing the project on behalf of the town. So if anybody has any specific correspondence that you want to share, best to go to Adam, and then he makes sure that everybody on the team is aware of it. With that, I'm going to ask Marco if you can just come back on and share any thoughts in closing. There you go.
Hi, Donna.
There you are. Yeah. Hi, Marco.
Hey. I mean, that was great input. I think, for these type of workshops, even though we're holding it virtual, having close to 40 participants in this morning session is a great turnout. And I think we've got a similar turnout in the afternoon. So these are, it's great feedback. And I just encourage everybody. I mean, I think we know most of everybody on the call, and I think we've got your contact information. So, through the team and Adam, you'll be kept appraised of, future meetings going forward, etc. And if you do have any input you want to send to us, just email it to Adam. We'll make sure our consultants, Donna and Ron and the team get it. But, we just started the process, so we still have a ways to go. And we appreciate, all your input. And, our goal, as was mentioned earlier on, to, finalize the process, meet with all our stakeholders, the region in particular, with respect to council's earlier position on ensuring that the balance of the town's white belt gets included as part of the urban area. We'll make that case to the region, and we're hoping to have, to be more extensive public consultation moving forward. But ideally, by the end of 2021, we want to have a updated OP ready for council's consideration, and then off to the region for approval. So stay, keep in touch. We'll stay in touch with you as well, and looking forward to more public engagement of this sort.
Thanks, Marco. So thanks again to everybody who's tolerated the platform. It has been really useful. The meeting has been recorded. We'll be posting it on the project webpage as soon as we can. We'll also be posting a copy of just the presentation, so you'll have it for your records and you don't have to listen to the whole audio recording. So with that, I'm going to sign off on everyone's behalf. Thank you very much, and we really look forward to continuing the conversation with everyone. Thanks, everyone.